young men out there, listen closely. The most important thing you have to understand, and what Mr. V's talking about, is these are despicable. All of these like hookup guides. Don't read any of that garbage. What that's teaching you to do, and I'm actually going to bring the mic back close to my mouth, and then when you're going to speak, I'll move it back, brother. Um, what but you can jump in at any time. I'll move the mic back. Um, what I what happens in those books, these dating books, these hookup books, and it's about just hooking up. It's about just getting sex. They're teaching you to target vulnerable women. And it could be the father just died, never had a good relationship with the father. Mother just died, just lost the job. Best friend just stopped talking to her. She gained 20 pounds and can't get rid of it. It's all about targeting the vulnerable woman in the environment and then moving in on her and then using these tactics where you insult, joke with the vulnerable woman, and you're like luring her into this state where she's seeking your approval, and it's disgusting. It's despicable. These guys they should be tickled profoundly. The people who write these things, and they're pushing this, and as Mr. V pointed out, they are showing a lot of these. Look at this non-white guy nail. I mean, just despicable. So this white woman over here is just I am disgusted by it, and the preying on vulnerable people. So throw that garbage away. One of the things you have to understand as well is, in a lot of these books, there's a ton of padding, as is always the case. The part that is effective and disgusting is the identifying the vulnerable woman, and then this little cat mouse game of insult this a little bit, tell a kind of a silly joke, maybe something about her appearance, something minor. You kind of push back. Maybe she's kind of silly. People would think that was silly, and then you kind of give it back to her a little bit. So it's like feeding the line back and forth, and then it's so sad. And women in this vulnerable state, they just fall for it. It's awful. And all of these villains, all they want to do is just have sex with them and move on, maybe give them an STD. It's sick. And the rest of the book or the books or the courses are lies. What they do is they take the behavior that is engendered by way of endless success by pretty guys, by men with very pretty faces, and they can treat women horribly. And they do, because everywhere they go, they're getting the signal from women, the look, the stare, the please come talk to me. Where's their mattress? I'm going to throw myself on my back look. And so they'll say, well, arrogance is important, and being rude and not caring about the woman. You don't want to. That's not going to work for you unless you have a really pretty face as a guy. And even if you do, don't do that. Find a great woman, get married, have a wonderful family, and be a champion for white well-being. That's what you should do. Now, the rest of us, the first thing you have to understand is that women in 99% of the cases are the ones doing the choosing, and they do so in various ways. The main way is what I just mentioned. You'll be out somewhere, she'll look at you, and there'll be some sort of look. The most prominent one of signal is where she will catch you in the eyes. And this is this is not something that a lady would have to learn in a book to do. It's the same way a lioness knows how to behave in front of a lion when she's trying to get him to come over. She looks, it just happens. So she looks, she catches your eyes. She allows that to happen, that electricity to happen. And then she'll look away, or she'll smile, she'll grin, she'll smile. There might be a little more, a little less. Then she'll look away. And that smile, though, will linger for a moment beyond breaking eye contact. That's one of the ways. There are numerous ways that she's going to signal. If she's more shy, you're going to have to be very keen about how she signals. She might keep posting herself somewhere where she's in your view, and that might be it for the signal. So be aware of that. But she has decided she's interested, and she wants to know if you are worth a hill of beans. If this were reverse, then it's called rape. So this nonsense about the man just going, that happens with guys with super pretty faces. There also, of course, are chance scenarios where I no doubt that it works out well. And you also have these infrequent scenarios where a guy just at chance is at work again. It's aleatory. Is in some place. He's in the airport and he sees a woman and he thinks, "Wow, she's perfect for me." And he walks up and begins talking to her. And guess what? If she would have seen him first, she would have given him the sign. So this is an erroneous idea. It's a misattribution of the cause. This happens all the time with logic, with folks, and so there's a misattribution there of what actually caused that. Again, this is not every single case, but it is almost every single time. So this is what's going to work for you, young men. The first thing to do is, or middle-aged men, older men, anybody trying to find a mate, the first thing to do is to decide that you're trying to find a mate. You're not trying to find sex for the night. You're not trying to find an STD or another STD or whatever it is. You're trying to find a mate. You're trying to find somebody to be with. So when you go out, realize for guys, and this is kind of a sad truth, but you just have to accept it, the vast majority of women during their highest, what's considered, now bear with me, ladies, the highest sexual market value years. It doesn't mean the highest value years of the woman. For her intellect, for her wisdom, for education, for etc. It's just that pocket of years where the guys, she seems like she's most able to, she's giving the signals, her body gives the signals, I am youthful, I can easily carry a child to term, all of that, all right? And then what happens is we see women, they try to imitate that for the rest of their life with all of the makeup and this and that. So they know exactly, ladies, you know exactly what I'm saying. Don't act offended. So you're still wonderful. You get beyond those years. You're still a wonderful person. We love every woman going free. So when they're in this phase, though, they have this wild idea, and it's because the parents aren't involved in her life anymore, and the anti-whiteism is feeding her this deep and fetid Bravo Sierra about how special she is and how unique she is. And so she goes out into the world, and instead of dating men that are looks-wise, an honest appraisal, roughly on the same level as she is, instead of doing that, she has this, and we see this not only from the lived experience of everybody who's going to be honest, but the actual data, all of these dating websites. And that's another thing, guys, when you're looking for a lady, the dating websites are almost universally not going to be great, because you're even narrowing it further onto looks, and especially the face. And if you don't have a pretty face, there's no face transplant. And forget about your body. A woman can, be in shape, but you're not going to get so muscular or so ripped that she's going to overlook the fact that you look like Elephant Man. So just forget about it. So now, of course, you've got live at whitedate.net, and that people with, who are going there have decided, so you might have more luck there if you're looking for a dating website. But I wouldn't waste my money, unless you have a really pretty face, I wouldn't necessarily waste my money on a dating website. You can, if you want to do a little bit of experiment, but the odds are bad. They're really bad if you don't have a pretty face. So recognize that when a woman is in these years, and you are in those years as well, the same age range or so, she is, even though she might be your peer in looks, she's looking rungs and rungs above you. And she'll be like that. This is most women, not all, for years. Now, most women, they end up marrying a guy that's, once they get through that, they've been with a bunch of men, or maybe they haven't. They've just been holding out because they thought Mr. Beautiful was going to show up one day. They end up with a guy that is roughly their equal in looks. But just recognize that reality first, that it's not going to be the lady who is equal on your looks. It's going to be the ones that are a few rungs down. That's the reality. You're still going to be able to find good people. If you're in that age range and you're trying to find somebody, you want to start a family, just accept that reality. If something different works out for you, then that's fantastic. Bravissimo. But if it doesn't, you're with the rest of us. That's the odds. So now you have the right mindset. You're looking for a mate, not sex, not just some sex, or collecting STDs or bad memories, or a woman who's going to try to stalk you and kill you. You're looking for a mate to start a family and be a happy, healthy contributor to the recapturing of our destiny. And that's really going to make your life infinitely better than everything else that's promised. You have decided what you're going to do. 2, you have a realistic understanding. And I wish I didn't have to tell you that this is the reality. I'm afraid it's just the way it is. Now, when it comes to what women, where they think they place themselves. And here are some real numbers I'll just give you. These dating websites several years ago that released the big dating websites, people know the names. And some of them were just hookup sites. Some of them were dating and marry sites. They found that 80+% of the ladies focused on less than 20% of the men on those sites. So here's what you see as the reality. And when asked, they defined only 20% of the men to be attractive, 80% of the men to be unattractive or not attractive enough. For men, the numbers were reversed. So this whole idea that we grow up with, fellas, and ladies, you're getting to hear a little bit of this as well. Maybe you'll be better to your sons. This whole idea that we grew up that men are just all about the looks, hogwash. Men, our heads will turn with every good-looking woman, no doubt about it. Or our eyeballs will turn with every good-looking woman, no doubt about it. But we also find a giant swath of the female population to be attractive, which means it could be you, young ladies. It could be you. You be a good woman. You don't have to be the supermodel. Be a good woman. Present yourself as a good person, good character, a good mother. You would be a good mother. You would be, especially since you hold all the power, you hold all the chips in our society. A signal that you would always be fair. You would never be calling on society to condemn the man calling on the government to condemn the man in your life. Make sure you signal that, and you will get quality guys will come to you. So same thing I say with girls, the guys, then you go out. Now, what you want to do is I'm going to call it interviewing, even though that seems sterile, because to call it courting. I mean, maybe we'll get to a point where we can call it courting again, but it definitely seems like I'm dragging out some 107-year-old grandmother, and she's going to tell us about the good old days and how they used to court. So we're not going to do that. You're interviewing the women that you're going to end up having conversations with, going out on dates with. Now, what do you do when you are at the church? Maybe you go to the church. Maybe you go to there are different kinds of clubs too. People are always saying, well, where do you meet somebody? Well, there's the rock climbing club, and then there's the club for the people who have the dogs that run through the obstacle course. And then there's so many things going on. Hang gliding clubs. There's so many things going on where there are going to be single adults or adults that maybe in relationships or married or what have you that know other single adults. and you're going to come across people. So you can try those places out, maybe in addition to a website, maybe in addition to Liv's website, but do your due diligence, of course, everywhere, and protect yourself, because these sites Liv cannot protect you. She does her best, but you have to do it for yourself. So you go out to these places, and you want to present yourself as, especially if you are desirous, as indifferent. And that means that you really have to be indifferent. How do you get to and when I'm talking about indifferent, how do you squelch this flame? You want love. And this is the other thing that's so just gross, this idea that men just want sex or whatever. A good man does want sex. I'm not pulling any punches, but he wants companionship. He wants someone to love. He wants somebody to cuddle up with. I mean, there's nothing unmanly about that. And so you have this great desire, and you're not, maybe the rest of the guys who are not pretty faced like myself, you don't have all of this attention. So how do you act indifferent about it? It is tough. I'm not going to lie. It is tough. A lot of this is tough. But you have to come to the place mentally where you're thinking, I hope somebody is there, that I hope there's, I get a signal, or I can start a conversation, and I'll talk about that in one moment. But it's probably not going to be perfect. It's probably not going to be this time. You just have to, and this is not like a depressing sort of thing. You're just realizing there's going to be some numbers to this, and you're not just there to find somebody who you find physically attractive, but also somebody who's going to be mentally, emotionally attractive, somebody who's going to be able to comport with you. So let's say you show up at the rock throwing club, and there are guys there, there are girls there. Some are dating, some are married, some are single. You see a couple that you think are really good looking. You see some that, and when I say that, I'm talking about like on your level. So you see somebody you think really good looking. That's on my, and you make an honest appraisal of yourself too. I had a guy come in, and guys can do this as bad as girls. So you really have to look in the mirror and be realistic. And if you can't be realistic, get help from a stranger, or get help from somebody who is just brutal, and they will tell you honestly. But you got to it's probably better to just do it yourself. Just be realistic. Whatever you first, make the best honest appraisal that you can on a scale of 1 to 10, and then knock like 2 rungs off or something. And then go out into the world with saying, I'm a this, and that's what I'm looking for in the world. And then be honest when you see that in the world. So you see some that, hey, they fit, but I know that they're not necessarily, maybe they haven't gotten old enough yet. They're not at that stage where you have the other elements that begin to become important to a woman as she's aging, especially as she's aging out of that period of having the really high social market value. And those are the analogs, like wealth, status, and this sort of thing, power. The analogs begin to play more of a role as she's phasing out of the that high social market value, sexual market value that she's going to have in her life. And it depends also. I mean, if she's working for a living and she suddenly says, God, I hate, being in this cubicle making somebody rich. I would just like to find a nice guy, or find a better job that I wouldn't be so stressed. And then he would have a job. We'd have 2 incomes, or whatever. There are a lot of things going on here. But when you get there, you have to try to act like it's probably not going to happen. You have to believe that it's probably not going to happen today at the rock throwing club. You're going to see some women, they're going to be on your level, some below. And we're just talking about looks at first. So what you want to do then, since you know that odds of it happening are less than the odds of it happening, you're going to go ahead and you're going to go out there and you're going to have a good time. And if you are uncomfortable talking with females, uncomfortable talking with females, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to go up to them and just think, of them as like another guy that you're having a conversation, but don't be as gross that as you could be, or coarse rather. So yeah, so you go up and you don't try to uh, be a particular something. Just be like you are, because if you try to be something, then that's going to eventually fade. And I've had women do that to me. They be something, and then that fades, and then I'm like, who the hell are you? Where did you come from? But so just be you, and the more you talk to ladies and try to just and get away from them as well. This is a really important thing. Have it like a normal. If you talk to a guy at the rock throwing club, and the conversation has a natural conclusion, you walk away. That's the end of that conversation. You move on to something else. Don't hover around the women. These are all bad signals. You don't hover. I know there's going to be a huge desire to look, because there is a genetic instinct in men to appraise for the ability to carry a baby to term. That's why we stare, by the way, ladies, is their brain is trying to do the calculation. Is she going to be able to, and it doesn't matter if it's well after that point in life, it's still an instinct in us. We're going to be evaluating, and that's the whole reason of looking at a woman, is staring at a woman. Now, you have to not do that. I get that it's just take a glance. You look at them, okay, well, that one's good, and that one over there, and then look away. You never want them to catch you staring at them. That's the worst thing you can do when it comes to women, is have them catch you staring, because then this ugly word called thirsty, and they kind of feel like, ooh, I want to push this guy away from me. So you just go up, you have a conversation. Don't get into her body bubble. Have a conversation with all the women there. Treat the oldest or most unlovely woman there with the same kindness, the same respect, because you are a gentleman, you're a Westman. And this is how you behave normally. This is how you're going to comport yourself. You treat them with the same attention to detail and etc. as you do the ones that you're interested in. And guess what? Those that you're interested in are going to notice that. They're going to say, wow, this guy is cool to everyone. He's a nice guy to everyone, or he's a decent guy, he's a trustworthy guy. And then I say again, very important, when you have that conversation, or you're learning how to do that, and the conversation has a natural end to it, just walk away. Don't do it like in a weird way, but just let the conversation in. You might get an opportunity to talk again, maybe not. Maybe you'll see some kind of signal. Maybe she's laughing a lot at your jokes. Maybe she is. These are good signals, right? But what Mr. V is talking about is you are projecting that you are able to provide, that you are able to get a date, that you are able to make it happen when you want to make it happen, that you are in charge of yourself, that you don't need these women, even the one that all of your DNA is saying, look again, look again, look again, that you don't need her. So you're going to talk to a lot of women. You're going to go find them at clubs, at church, at whatever. Maybe the bar, maybe whitedate.net, wherever. You're going to speak to them like they're just like everybody else. Women there that are better looking, less, not as attractive, whatever, you're going to treat with the same respect. You're going to let conversations end when they end naturally. You're not going to keep going back to her if she's moving away. You just say, there are so many fish in the sea. She doesn't matter to you. You have to get to that point. There's a weird genetic thing, and I want to point this out. There's this weird like genetic thing that when a guy sees what he has determined is what this one, she could easily carry, and this is not the actual words, of course, there are other words, but ultimately this is what's the thought process is, but she could really carry a baby to term. You get like laser focus on it. You get target fixation. You've got to get over that. That's part of being that, what Mr. V is talking about here, the guy who's alpha, the guy who doesn't need that woman. And you'll be able to take her or leave her. There'll be another one tomorrow. There could be another one, and next week It's going to happen because you're out there looking. You're out there putting yourself in these places. So you're going to talk to everybody respectfully. All of the women, irrespective of their looks, the same. You're going to let conversations naturally end. You are going to be of the mindset, because you're going to force yourself that even though you want to find someone to date, to have as a partner, that the odds are probably not going to be today. Might not be this Monday, might be next Monday, might be the Monday, who knows? But it's probably not going to be this Monday. But I'm out here anyhow. And so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to exercise my ability to talk and interact with women that inside I know I want deeply, but outside I have to be indifferent about, just kind to, not rude to. And this is important. I want to leave you guys with this, that you have to be in total control of yourself. You don't have to controlling a situation, not good. Controlling other people outside of you, not good. Control of you. That's what's most important.